Hello again, Little Foodies, and welcome to week 2 of Matt's Kitchen. This week, we're going to do something that I think everyone loves. So it's coming into autumn already, and it's getting a little bit chilly, and so we all like a little bit of a warm pudding, don't we? This is a British classic, and it's got apples and it's got crumble. I think you can see where I'm going here. It's an apple crumble. Let's get started. So, apron on, and let's wash our hands. Okay, great. So, remember, you can pause this video at any time and have a look at the recipe, which is in the description below the video. You might want to do that now and have a read with a grown-up. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the tools we need today and the ingredients. So, we've got a chopping board for the apples. We have got scales to weigh things. We have got a wooden spoon or spatula, one or the other. We've got a measuring tablespoon. This is really useful. Now, you can use any regular tablespoon, but the good thing about this is it's got a precise measurement. Do you see that there? Yeah, super precise. A spoon also is handy. We'll need a knife and a peeler. Now, to do these apples, you might want to get help from a grown-up. If you don't have a knife that is child-friendly, that could be a good idea. We don't want anyone getting cut. And in fact, there is a child-friendly knife. Also, I put a link to one in the description below. What else do we need? We might need cup measurers, especially if you don't have any scales. And then the dish that the apple crumble is going to go in. So that's important. And finally, a good sized saucepan, because we're going to cook the apples a little bit beforehand. Right, so first off, we're going to weigh our apples, because we want to make sure we have the correct amount. We need about 1 kilo, and it works out to about 6 apples, depending on how big they are. It might be 7 if they're smaller, or even 8. Now, what I've got here is a mixture of different types of apples. You can, of course, actually any apple will work for a crumble, but it's nice to have a mixture of different apples because you get the different flavors, and some of them will break down more than others, and some of them will stay a bit more chunky. And so that I quite like that. And I've got some ones that I bought. I think these are Gala, and we've got some other ones, and we've even got some from our garden. So we'll use those. So where are we at here? We've got 900. Okay, just over 1 kilo. Perfect. So we need 175 grams of flour. Now, the good thing about crumble is very hard to get it wrong, because really there's lots of different recipes and they're all sort of about the same, but it's not an exact science. All you need to remember is that you want to have about the same amount of fat. So that today we're using butter, but you could use coconut oil or something like that. So the same amount of fat as sugar, and then that is then doubled for the flour. So we've got 100 grams of Demerara sugar, we've got 100 grams of butter. In the US, that works out to just under a stick of butter. But you know what? You could put the whole stick in. No one's going to come and police you after. And it works out a half a cup of Demerara sugar. And we've got one cup of flour. So let's double check that my measurements are correct here by weighing it. So we'll start with the flour. We've got 175 grams we're going for. That's half a cup. And that's another cup. It's just a little bit more than a whole cup. We're gonna measure the sugar as well. We'll do the same thing. So you see what I'm talking about in the cup. I'm hoping it's half a cup. So put that to 0. And we've got Demerara Sugar. It's going in. 20, 25, ooh, 90, 100. Look at that, 100 grams. And it was half a cup, so I was right in that case. We can dump that in there and put that to one side. And then the butter, if you look here, they've got little measurements on there that tell you how much. So you can actually guide roughly. We say that's 50, that should be 100 there, under half. Put that to 0, see what happens. 410, you know what, I think it'll be okay. So we're gonna pop that on the flour for a second. So actually I'm gonna put the almonds in with the sugar. You don't have to have almonds, okay? You can make a crumble with these 3 basic ingredients and it will work. You just need to remember the flour. So in this case, we're using flour and almonds, but they're mixed together. Just need to remember that that has to be twice the amount of butter. And if you like it a little bit less sweet or more sweet, you can adjust to accordingly. I think this is the right ratio. So put that to 0 again, and we're gonna do 50 grams, which is, again, I think it's also half a cup. Should we test it? No. It's funny because 49, 50. So what have you noticed about these cups? This is half a cup, and yet it's only 50 grams of almonds. And we did half a cup of sugar, but it was 100 grams. So how is it that that is heavier? That's heavier than this one. Well, sugar is actually more dense, and it's the same with flour, but flour, the density of flour and the density of sugar is also different. So anyway, that's a good one to point out because not always, the measurements don't always match up with the weights. So just be careful on that. If you're doing another recipe, you want to watch out because this is a volume and this is a weight. So it's 2 different types of measurement. Anyway, we'll pop this in here and then we can move back to our flour and butter. So is there any other ingredients that we're missing? We've got our flour, we've got our almond meal, we've got the butter. We've weighed the apples and we also need to weigh the, I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Cinnamon. Ooh. Now some people don't like cinnamon, so you know they're just weirdos. But that's fine. I think we're going to put it in today. The reason I'm making this pudding is because my best friend is coming to dinner, and I happen to know for a fact one of his favourite things is apple crumble. So that's why I'm doing it today. Right, cinnamon. We said 1 teaspoon, so we've got a teaspoon measurer. I don't know if that was on my list earlier, but and we can actually add this in with this. Shall we see what that weighs, just for funsies? Teaspoon. Okay. Now, teaspoon measure, really, if you're being scientific, it should be flat. We've got a flat teaspoon. How much do you think it's going to weigh? 1 gram? Oh, that's funny. Right. Okay, so that is actually all our ingredients except for the sugar and the orange juice, which we're going to put with the apples after they're cut up. So let's cut up the apples. Now you can peel your apples in a spiral like this and see how far you can get. You can see I've already actually broken a piece off, so I'm losing already. You're probably going to do better than me. Oh, and it's broken again. Okay, so I think I've definitely lost this challenge, but maybe you let me know how you get on. See if you manage. Oh, and it's broken. I'm going to change peeler. Okay. Now you can also get some peelers that are child friendly. I mean, it's quite hard to cut yourself with this, but it's a good idea to have something to put the peels in. Get another little bowl, peel the cores, cut it down like that, and like that, and take the core out. Oh, I could show you another tool that's quite handy I've got, and that's for taking the core out of an apple. Now, you might need a grown-up to help you with this bit because knives are sharp and dangerous, but we'll cut it into 4, and then we can cut it again down there, and we can cut that one again, and then you put them upside down, and then that's half the apple. You see that? Let's do the same with that. Put that back, and then you can cut them like that into chunks. Now, they don't need to be very small because this is a crumble, and they're going to start to cook down. We've got 1 apple is done. This is definitely something that would work with a child-friendly knife, so it's worth getting one of those. In there, I was going to show you an apple corer. Look what I've got here. This is an apple corer, and what this does is it goes through the core of the apple and it takes it out for you. So look at that. If I put that down there in the middle, then I've got to go and try and go straight as possible. Turn it down. Oop, out it goes. There's the core. You can slot that out, and then look at that. Ooh. So I still need to peel it. Oh no, it broke. Oh, I thought I was doing so well that one. Oh well, never mind. Okay, right. If there's any bits like this one, it's got a little bruise on it. You just cut that out. It's fine underneath. See? So, again, we'll cut this up. Don't have to worry about coring it because it's already been done. Cut it in again. Into chunks. And don't worry if it's not perfect. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Still tastes the same. Right, 3 more apples to do. I'll be right back. Ta-da! Right, okay. We've got our apples. We're going to get them cooking in a minute, but we're going to add a little bit of brown sugar and orange juice. Now, traditional crumble is made with what's called cooking apples, and they're very tart. So if you do use those, you probably want to add a bit more sugar than what the recipe says. I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Now, we're going to use the same tablespoon, but we don't want the orange juice to get into the sugar. So let's do the sugar first, and then we'll do the orange juice. So we got 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, there we go. And then we use the same spoon for the orange juice. 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Great. They will produce liquid as we begin to cook them. Right, so we're now going to put these over on the stove and on a medium heat for about 15 minutes. It's not going to cook them completely. It's just going to start off that process. Okay. Set yourself a little timer so you don't forget them. While that's happening, we're going to do 2 things. Very important. We're going to turn the oven on so that can heat up, and we're going to mix our crumble. We're going to cook the crumble at 180 degrees. Now, most things that you cook is around that temperature. It's like 200 degrees, non-fan. This oven is a fan oven, so it's going to be 180 degrees, which is about 350 Fahrenheit, 390 if it's not a fan, gas mark 6. So let's turn that on. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put together the crumble. The most important. Grab my board back and give it a little wipe. We're going to cut the butter up into small cubes. Now there's a bit of flour in there, it doesn't matter because it's going to go back into the flour, and we want really small cubes. The reason for doing this, you'll see in a moment, is that it makes it much quicker when we rub it together. So, right, so we've got our small cubes and we've got to get the flour into our mixing bowl. And then the butter will also go into the mixing bowl. My trusty little anti-slip mat, keep things steady. Pop that butter into the mixing bowl. Now, this is the technical part. Now, so for crumble and pastries and things like this, we're looking to blend the flour and the butter together. And the way we're going to do that is just by using the very tips of our fingers like this. We're going to rub it. You see, we get the flour all over the butter, and then slowly we're going to rub the flour and the butter together. What we're looking to make here is like a sort of breadcrumb mixture. All the big bits, just squeeze them. You just want to squeeze them between your fingers. Quite fun getting your fingers in there. Now, of course, you could do this in a food processor. To be honest, many times I do. But it's good to know this method. And also, sometimes you might be somewhere where there isn't a food processor. And crumble is just such an easy and yummy pudding to do on any occasion. So you see that starting to make that sort of breadcrumb bit. All the big lumps of butter have been squished. What you can do now is just gently rub it like that between your fingers. So essentially you're picking some up, not a whole lot, and just gently rubbing it into a sort of sandy-like texture. Again, it doesn't matter too much if there are some larger bits left, as it all come out in the mix. Oh, that's our oven that's at temperature already, and those apples will be done in a minute. Okay, you see that starting to make some sort of earthy bits there. At this point we want to stop doing that, and let's put in the rest of the ingredients that we measured out earlier. So we've got the sugar and the almonds and the cinnamon. Now, I realised after I put the cinnamon in that actually, disclaimer, in my recipe I had actually written to put the cinnamon in the apple. Now you could do one or the other, or both. You can put the cinnamon in both if you want, or none at all, as I said. Like, some people don't like it. So just keep mixing that up like that. Now it's crumbly-ish. We've got some larger bits. We've got a lot of still sort of sandy bits there. What I like to do is have a little bit more crumbly texture. With some more larger bits. So what you can do is a little bit of cold water, or we can take the orange juice we were using earlier. Just measure a little bit out, and just want to put in a little bit at a time. Just adds a bit of moisture there, and it starts getting sticky on your fingers. That's when you know that you're really at that sort of crumbly bit. What will happen when this cooks is it will start to sort of stick together a bit more. We've got this larger, it's more like an earthy texture rather than sand. Okay, let's have a look at our apples. Oh, okay, those are looking good. Let's give them a little stir. I think we're there. It's been almost 15 minutes at this stage. And look at that. They are beginning to break up. Okay, right, I'm going to turn them off. And now we're going to assemble the crumble. I'm going to move that to one side for a second. Then we're going to grab our dish. Now I've actually changed dishes, I confess. It's not the one I showed you earlier on. I decided that I wanted a bit bigger dish so that the crumble had more surface area. I like it so it's not mega thick. But really, the size of the dish doesn't matter too much. Like I said last week, as long as all the ingredients fit, we're in good shape. So let's grab these apples. Now be very careful, the saucepan's gonna be hot. You might need an oven mitt for you. This is okay for me. Or ask a grown up to help. You put the saucepan on a heat mat, like that, next to the dish, and then use a spoon to get the apple out and put that in. Got that. So, and then what you want to do is you want to spread the apple out onto the bottom of the dish. So you've got a sort of a flat surface really. But again, it doesn't have to be too precise. Then we're going to get our crumble back. And this, we're going to spoon over the top. So, nice and earthy. And we're just going to spoon it over so that it's spread out evenly. Oh, I am looking forward to this. There we go. We don't want any holes. We don't want to press down too hard either. There we go. Ready to go. Okay, so we're going to put this in the oven for about 30, but maybe 40 minutes. Let's see how it goes. Right. That temperature in the middle. There we go. And then while that's cooking, it's a great opportunity to have a clear up of all the mess we've just made and maybe even do a bit of washing up. I think somebody might like that. I forgot to say, set a timer. I almost forgot to set the timer.
Okay, clean up time. Let's see if I can clean up in less time than that takes to cook.
Have a look at this. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. Slightly colouring on the top, you see there, and bubbling around the sides. Oh, it smells good. We need to let it cool down just a little bit before we can start digging into it. Okay, I think this is rested enough. This is just looks really good. You can see the two layers there. Let me just show you that. See that? This is supper later. But I can't help to try just a little bit now. Oh, it smells cinnamony. You got a little, the top is a little bit crusty. Here we go. Oh, it's a bit naughty to try some now. Oh, a little bit hot. So good. You're just gonna love this simple crumble recipe. I'm telling you, you've got to try it. Now, of course, the great thing about crumble is you can do lots of different kinds of crumble. You can do it with all sorts of different fruit. Pears are easy. So you want to avoid any kind of tropical fruit or citrus fruit. But red soft fruits are good. Just bear in mind you might not need as much fruit and it's going to change the consistency. For the crumble itself, you can use things like coconut butter, but you might not need as much as you would for butter, and you can use gluten-free flour as well. Why don't you have a try and see what works for you, and let me know in the comments. This was really fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And remember to like and subscribe for next week's video. Next week we're going to do another sort of autumny thing. It's going to be butternut squash soup. One of my favorites. I hope you join me and we'll discover how to do the basics of making a vegetable soup. All right, see you next week.